Hi, I'm Liv and I'm 22 years old.
Have you always had a passion for dancing?
Yeah, so I think I've been dancing literally since as long as I can remember. So let's say like 3, 4, my mum put me in dance and was like, you will dance. I think she's just lucky that I kind of fell in love with it. So I started with like traditional ballet, tap, jazz, and then I moved into like street dance, and then it was a lot for like a 10-year-old. So then I had to pick between the two. So I picked the more traditional route just because I knew it was better for me in terms of where I wanted to go in life, which was musical theatre. So I stuck with that side. Did a BTEC in it, so I did a BTEC in performing arts and then did my degree in it. So I can't be half shabby. Yeah, no, I think I have always really loved it, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else with my life. Like, I think we coincide with each other, if that makes sense. A bit wanky, but...
What's your favourite type of dancing?
I don't really mind. I think it depends on my mood, really, because it's not every day like cheesy smiles, because no. But I think something energetic, because then like afterwards you like the endorphins are flowing, like you feel like you've worked hard. I love a challenge.
How long have you been a professional dancer for?
I've been a professional dancer, so I graduated in 2018, so 2 years. I mean, can you say 2 years really, considering I've not done anything for the last 10 months? I don't know, but technically 2 years. So I got a job in June, so before finishing college, so I had to leave college early and go to my job. And then I went on a UK and European tour, and then I was meant to be on that till June of this year, but obviously Miss Rona happened and it ended in March. Well, not ended, but it got paused in March.
Have you played for any big production?
Yeah, so I'm in a musical called The Book of Mormon, which is written by the same guys that wrote South Park.
Did you face any hard times during your career?
Yeah, so I'd have to say, okay, so from like, I think they kind of like evolved, and like in terms of like how much they affected me kind of fluctuates like depending on like where I am in life. But like I know growing up, because I was so dedicated, because I've always known what I wanted to do, I know it was really hard for me, because I know that in my friendship group I was the only one that kind of knew what I wanted to do and had that ambition. So like I was always going to dance classes like after school and stuff, which meant I didn't really have as much of a social life. I know it's a bit kind of like boo-hoo, but like it was just a bit hard because I felt like my friends didn't really understand. So that was kind of hard, but then I think I really flourished when I went to college at Henley, because I was on a course with people who were like-minded people who kind of understood what I wanted to do and like what I had to do to be able to get there. And then the same with uni, like it's another level up again. I think obviously I didn't feel differently. No, I didn't feel... That didn't affect me as much. I think when I went to uni, it became a whole different ball game, and like the hardships I faced was like being the only black girl in a sea of white girls, and like trying to navigate that, and like stereotypes and what people may think of you, and like teachers assuming one thing about you just because of the way you look, because there's a lot of bias in musical theatre industry anyway. So that was hard, and like race, like low-key racism and like ignorance, and just there was a lot of things that kind of like were hard. Like they were rough. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like when people ask me like, how did you find college, and like how was it for you? Like I can truly say I never say, oh my gosh, it was amazing, it was the best time of my life, best 3 years of my life, because it wasn't. Like it was hard. Like imagine doing 38 plus hours of physical like exercise a week, and then plus all like the mental stresses, the physical stresses. Like 8 a.m. ballet is a struggle when you finished the night before at 9 p.m. and then you had to come home and make dinner. Anyway, like hardships like in class. I know this ballet teacher used to hate me, like hate my guts, and she always used to tell me to smile, and she used to tell me like, oh, why have you got such a bad attitude, and she used to say like, oh, I speak about you with other teachers and you're not like this with them, so why are you like it with me? And I always used to think like, you impose such a bad stereotype on me. You think I'm one way when I'm not, and I know you think that about me, and you're always low-key putting me down, so why should I come into class with you? Like, I'm here because I have to be here, and I want to be here because I want to train, but I'm just going to mind my business and do what I have to do. But that doesn't mean we have to be friends. That doesn't mean I have to smile at you. That doesn't mean I owe you anything, because, nah. Like, she used to, like, so she was a ballet teacher, she used to say, like, oh, the perfect ballet body is, like, I don't get why you all want big bums, and I don't get why you, like, all have these big lips. Like, she used to say, like, characteristics of a black person, and then just look at me and be like, I don't know why you all want this, and that's not the perfect ballet body, and, like, it doesn't make sense to me, it's silly. And I'd literally just stand there and be like, that is literally how I'm born, that's what I look like, and, like, how is that helpful for me as a learning, like, young adult to be told that I don't have the perfect body, and I don't get why someone would want to look that way? Yeah, I didn't ask to look this way, but I'm happy with the way I look, so, like, why are you trying to put me down for? Like, what do you get out of it? What do I get out of it? Nothing positive. So that always, to name a few. And then I think another thing going through, like, in the musical theatre, performing arts industry is, like, this, not stigma, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, let's say mental health. Like, mental health is a big thing that's not spoken about in performing arts, because a lot of people struggle with it, like the obvious ones, like eating disorders. Like, an eating disorder is a normal thing. Like, people will lose, like, so much weight, and it's just another one. Like, it's nothing new, which is so sad. And, like, anxiety and body dysmorphia and depression and suicide is really high, and, like, all these things are so big in the performing arts industry, and people don't think it is, because obviously, like, when you're dancing it in, you create endorphins and things like this, but, like, it's two ends of the spectrum. So you can be so happy and yet you can be so sad, and you go from one extreme to the other so often that it really does, like, have an effect on your mental stability sometimes. Yeah, so I think those are some of the hardships.
Did you have to face any mental health issues throughout your journey?
Yeah, so I struggle with, like, really bad perfectionism, and I think that's from, like, in training, the way they teach you to, like, self-train is, like, imagine you just spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, in front of a mirror in, like, these skimpy outfits, so, like, shorts and a crop top, or leggings and a crop top, or leotard and tights, so, like, something, like, really body revealing so you can see everything, and that's great, that's fine. But the way they train you is always look for what can be better. So always look for the flaws, always look for the negatives. So you spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, looking at yourself, just picking out the negatives and trying to find what is wrong, so then you can fix it. But obviously, when you say it out loud, you're like, that's stupid. Like, how detrimental can that be to someone's health? Like, it's ridiculous. And then you understand why mental health is so bad in, like, these kind of industries, because we're trained and wired to pick out the flaws naturally, so then that imposes and transpires into, like, everyday life. yeah, like perfectionism was really bad. Anxiety can get pretty bad. Which is funny because my anxiety is triggered by like the fear of the unknown and like uncertain situations and instability. And that's completely what the industry is. Like, the industry is so uncertain and unstable, which is, I mean, it's weird, like, this is a contradiction, but I love it because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but then also I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And that also really scares me. So, yeah, I think for me, it's like a struggle, anxiety.
How did you deal with all this?
So I like to do a lot of writing. I like to write my feelings down. That's like a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism for me. So like I do a lot of like writing and like turning them into poems. I think it's kind of like a side hobby that's for me. I always think that someone in a creative business, or actually anyone, should have a side hobby that's just for them. It's not for the purpose of making you money, it's not for the purpose of anyone else, it's just a safe haven where you can just kind of emote your feelings and it just be for you, and it's a safe place where you don't feel the need to have to show anyone, or you don't feel the need to have to make it perfect or be judged by anyone. You can just kind of like let it out however it is, however ugly, however messy, however, like whatever it is you're feeling, it can just come out. And I think mine comes out in writing, so I do a lot of writing if I'm anxious, or what else? I started therapy, so I go to therapy because there's no shame in that. Yeah, and talking to people. I think everyone deals with their feelings in a different way. I know some people I think the best thing is talking about it, getting it out, even if like just saying it out loud in your bedroom on your own. It feels different. I mean, like it lifts at least something off of your chest, as opposed to like holding it inside. That's my advice.
Throughout your journey, have you had any support whatsoever from family or friends?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have the most supportive family and friend circuit. Like, I think I'm really lucky. I'm very family orientated anyway, but my family are like 100% the best family there is. Like, I wouldn't change them for the world. I remember like just little things, like little texts, like, oh, you know, I hope this whatever went well. Or I remember when I moved into my uni halls, my aunts and uncles texted me and they were like, if you ever need anything at all, if you need like money, or if you need like to talk or anything like that, like do not hesitate to pick up the phone. Like if you need 50 quid to go out, I will give you 50 quid. And I was like, my G, like I never did it, but like to know that they're there and they're willing to do that for you, I think is a great thing. So I understand that not everyone has that. But and like my parents, just incredible. Like no, there are literally no words, because they always put me before them. Like they're always working hard. Like my dad, like before I went to uni, like to put me through like dance school and like all these different things, like me going up to London every Saturday and this, that and the other. Like he'd be working so hard, like 7 days a week. Always working hard. Like my mum like works full time. Like yeah, I'm lucky. My friends, so like my best friends that I met at Henley College, yeah, they're sound. Yeah, and they're always there for me for a chat or whatever, and like they came up to see me in the show in Bristol and we had like a nice weekend out. And it's just a shame that I was in Europe. A lot of the time that I was on stage, I was in Europe, so then obviously I can't just like ring up and be like, hey, come to Aarhus for for the evening, or like, oh hey, like come to Zurich, like, so they couldn't see me a lot. But when I was when they were able to come and see me, they did, and like they were front row and they were clapping, and yeah, it's the one.
What's your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement? What? Ooh, I got so many achievements. I just I'm joking. Okay, achievements. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Can I give you multiple? So in terms of career, obviously would be getting my job, because it's a good job to have in the industry. If I do say so myself. Even I'm shocked that I got this job. Like, I'm like, wow, you did that. So yeah, I'd say like in terms of career, I'd say getting my job. In like everyday life, you know what? Something I'm really proud of, my car, because I worked hard, I saved up, and I bought myself a car, and like I bought it all on one-off payment. I paid for everything myself, and it's a nice car. And I can say that I bought that, no one else helped me, I didn't get any help from my parents didn't buy it for me. Like, that's all me. And that's like a physical thing that I have, and it's like my first big girl like purchase, and I was like, yeah.
Have you had any setbacks, and how did you overcome it?
So I'm gonna say the obvious one. Corona is really just turned it all the way left for me. So as I said, like I was in Birmingham at the time, and it was kind of like a small thing. Like Corona was like kind of here, kind of there. Like no one was really worried about it. And then they closed the show down, and everyone was like, "It's fine, it's cool, not a problem. Like, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks." Like, I left half my shit at the theatre because I was like, it's not a problem, I'll be back in 2 weeks. And here I am, 10 months later, still not back. Half the tour's been cancelled. There's been so much with like contracts, and because obviously the contract was meant to finish in June, but then obviously I didn't finish the actual contract, so then there's been talks about pushing it back. I don't know if I was meant to say that. And it's just been all kind of, everything's just been like thrown in the air, and it's kind of hard because with the industry, like the industry is just plummeted, and the government is just taking it for a joke, and it's not the one, because it does actually scare me, because I think this is what I've literally dedicated my whole life to. And through no fault of my own, or anyone else's for that matter, it may not happen. And it's weird because I literally cannot see my life any other way than being involved with theatre. But the theatre is really struggling right now, and I don't think it'll be on track properly, like the way it was back to normal, for a good couple of years. Like the whole of the West End basically isn't reopening until 2021, spring, maybe summer, maybe later. Like Panto's been cancelled, like all these things, and all these performers, or not even just performers, but the people that work around it. Like you've got your backstage, your lighting, tech, sound, crew, stage management, people that work at each theatre, hair, makeup, like so many people have just been like forgotten about. How have I overcome it? I don't know, day by day really, isn't it? It's just kind of keeping the faith. Like the industry is such a lucrative industry, and I don't think people realise how much money it brings to the economy. Like it brings like double, triple the amount that football does. So like think of all the tourists, like what am I saying? Think of all the tourists that come and see a show, and shows aren't cheap. Like it's 60-70 quid per ticket, and then you've got, you know, 1,000, 2,000 people in that. That's one night. yeah, I think it'll bounce back, it'll be fine. It'll just take its time to get there. Because these things cost money, and there's no point in putting shows back on if you're not going to make a profit. So I think overcoming it is just, it's getting the funding, it's pushing the government, it's signing petitions, it's just, you know, keeping the faith, staying on top of your skills, because if you don't use it, you lose it. Trust me. Yeah.
What are you doing to stay on top of your skills?
That's a good question. So I've been taking singing lessons when I can, going up to London. So when we were in lockdown, classes went online where they could. So it was like an Instagram live. So instead of just sitting and watching, you'd like put your phone up and like clear the living room. So I've like rejigged the living room so that there's no carpet, there's no like middle like coffee table anymore. So then there's somewhere for me to be able to dance and train still. And obviously it's not going to be the same as dancing in a studio, because like I don't have a big house like that. But like doing what you can, like staying fit, stretching, like singing, still kind of like watching theatre, like just trying to stay involved with it as much as you can. I got my headshots redone, because why not? Yeah, like nothing, there wasn't another point.
What are you doing in terms of work?
So I had to get a muggle job. I tried to wait it out, but the bank account said no. So I got a job at Harrods, just at the warehouse. Like, it'll do for now, it'll pay the bills. But it's just temp work, so then I can like build up enough money, so then now that dance studios have opened again in London, I have the money to be able to go maybe like weekly, fortnightly, and like stay on top of my training and just kind of stay within the bubble, because theatre is very much in London, or like within the city centre, so I can just kind of keep my foot in the door in terms of that. So like from now to Christmas or like the new year, I've said to myself, you know, work really hard, so working 6 days a week, work really hard so you can build up that money, that foundation, so then when it comes to the new year you can lower your hours and you have that money, so then you can go up weekly, fortnightly, you can have singing lessons up in London, you can pay for it all. Obviously you'll still be working, so there'll still be income, but you have somewhere to go off, so it's not just coming out your savings, because that's not cute.